Coming up on this episode, I talk about perception and how we all perceive life differently and how this can impact your day-to-day life. Share a heartwarming story about a bus driver in America and go on a rant about cookies. I'm just tired of cookies. So let's get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I want to talk about perception, but first, the good news for today. So this story is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to bring it up on my phone or on the screen or whatever, but I will link it in the description below. It's a story about a bus driver in America that saw a little kid upset one morning, and turns out it was because he didn't have pajamas for pajama day. So after the guy finished his route, he went and brought the kid some pajamas and dropped him off to the school. And it's a really heartwarming story and everything else. And it goes to show that there are people that do those little extra things to make the difference. Like, there was that probably made that kid's day, and if you check the story out in full, it details it more and it goes back and forth and like what was said and things like that. But I don't want to get into the reading dialogue of he said, she said and all of that. But it is a reminder that there are people out there that do these small acts, have a big impact on people. And we can all be one of those people if you're just a little bit more aware of the things that you can do. Again, like, that guy didn't go out and necessarily break the bank to buy pajamas or whatever else, but simply the fact that he went out and done it is amazing beyond anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, just a small act on his part, in the grand scheme of things of life, will have a massive impact on that boy, and it will for the rest of his life. And I suppose that kind of brings us into the idea of today's episode in perception. And this is something I've been thinking about more, and hopefully there's something you can gain from listening to me ramble about it. But it's a perception, as I've seen it defined from what I can't remember off the top of my head right now, is basically you take in an influx of sensory inputs, whether it be sight, sound, touch, smell, whatever it is. Your brain then processes all of these stimuli, and you then form a perception of what that could be. So, for example, if you walk in a kitchen and smell cinnamon, the stimuli is the smell of cinnamon, but your perception may be, oh, that smells like the cookies that grandma made. So that stimuli produces an idea, or kind of like I've mentioned before, that kind of kaleidoscope where it links into other parts of your brain and everything else. But we do this all through life. Life is all about perception. We all perceive life differently, and all of our experiences shape our experience. So if you didn't have a grandma that baked you cookies, that smell of cinnamon may associate something else. You might have, I don't know, cinnamon, whatever. Cinnamon's in loads of things. But you will associate it differently. You won't associate it with grandma cookies like somebody else would. And we do this in every aspect of life. So then when you think that your experiences shape how you perceive the world, and how you perceive the world shapes your experiences, you see where I go with this kaleidoscope metaphor. It's all kind of inside out, outside in. But it gives food for thought, where if you can be conscious of how you're perceived and how you perceive the world, you can kind of start to play the game. You can get to a point where you analyze your actions, you look at the situations, and you choose how to respond instead of just responding. So instead of going, that'd have been a bad way to say it. I'm going to get off grandma's cookies. Leave them alone for a minute. So, okay, this is a better way to explain it. I've got a thing of saying that like people have short memories. So most people or most interactions will be based on your last, say, 5 to 10 interactions with people. Now, I have no scientific merit for this. This is just my own thoughts on the matter and my own life experience. But that being said, I think there's a fair amount of truth to it. So we have fairly short memories, right? So if the last, say, 5 to 10 experience with somebody are good or bad, you'll perceive the next experience to be as such. So for example, if you've seen the person the last 5 times you've seen them, they've been happy, warm, this, that, and everything else. Your idea of them, your perception of them, is of a happy person. So when you're about to see them the next time, that idea is going to come into your head. As soon as you see them, it's either going to be confirmed or denied. But your actions up until that moment will be as their behavior was the last several interactions. For example, if this was negative and the last 5 times you've seen this person, you've had an argument with them or they've been an absolute strop, you're going to assume they're going to be that way next time. So you're going to have anxiety about meeting them, you're going to have tension, you're going to try to avoid them, whatever it is, you're going to go more down that negative road. Now, if you can be aware of this and you can see that they've got their own things that have their life that is making them happy, sad, this, that, and everything else, and it's not necessarily your actions or it's nothing personal towards you, and it's their experience and whatever they're going around, you can then kind of separate yourself from it and not take it so personally. So that's a kind of win from understanding that. You've then got the idea of we're all doing this. Every single person is going through their own experience. Every person is perceiving the world differently. You're currently watching me on whatever device, whatever screen, or maybe just listening to me on audio at any point in time after I've recorded this. Now, I could be anywhere else in life doing who knows what, but you're currently in the moment watching me. Take a moment to think about that. Like, this is a segment from my life that my life has now gone on to have many other moments, and I've done many other things. But yet this moment is encapsulated there for everybody else to perceive and take information from or whatever else. But to you, it's happening in your now. This is my past. You could be seeing this years and years after I've gone from this earth. And my voice is continued, my image is continued. Your perception of me will be in the now. But the reality of me is completely different. I'm wherever. So if you keep that in mind and then think of that, that's happening for everybody, all throughout the world, every single person, everybody is having this experience, getting all of these different stimuli that shape their experience, that shape their perception of the world, that shapes their perception of life, which then shapes their actions. It's an forever ongoing cycle where one feeds the other. I kind of suppose it gets into a nature versus nurture argument, but then it's more, I suppose it goes more deeper than that, because it's more about how each person can perceive the world differently. So you can see the same situation, but 2 minds can perceive it completely differently. And is it because one see it from the left angle and one see it from the right? Or is it because one see the villain as the hero and the other see the hero as the villain? Whatever it is, every brain has the potential to process a situation differently. which means everybody has the potential to see the world differently. And that to me is fascinating. That allows for so much to be shared and so much to be explored. But it seems that more often than not, we all try to squeeze into similar boxes and be the same or find similar tribes instead of exploring how you can perceive the world from your perspective, from your angle, from your life experiences and everything else. Like, I really do believe that two people can walk down the exact same road at the exact same time and have two completely different experiences. You can live the same day twice and have two completely different experiences. You can focus on different things, which again comes back down to your perception, how you perceive the world, what stimuli you choose to focus on. Because stimuli is going to come at you from all angles in life, but it's about which ones you choose to focus on. Now let me give you a little playthrough. You wake up in the morning and step on a plug. You've got two scenarios. You can either say it's going to be a terrible day, get back in bed and be miserable, or go about your day and be miserable. Or you can get out of bed in the morning, step on a plug, go, well, that was horrible, but that's the bad thing for today out the way. And then look for the positive in the rest of the day. Same thing happened, but the response was different. If you choose to focus on the negative, you'll find it. It's always there. If you choose to focus on the positive, you'll find it. It's always there. It's just about what you choose to focus on, what you choose to perceive. This is life, and it's yours to choose to how you live it. But so many of us end up being more like leaves in the wind, just getting blown about life. But you have a lot more control over that breeze than you think. So choose what you bring into your life. Choose what you focus on. Choose where you put your intention, what stimuli you have. Because it is in your control. And it is hard at first, putting restrictions on yourself or trying to change behavior habits and everything else. It's never going to be easy. Growing hurts. Like, it's just part of life. But if you can go through those growing pains, you can end up in better times. You can end up with a better understanding of life. You can see beyond yourself to the beauty of every life. Like, how often do you go down the road and wonder what's going through somebody else's mind? Just escape your own stresses for a second and wonder how somebody else is perceiving their life. Why somebody else might be singing along to music in their car or having an argument on the phone or whatever else it is. Just take a second to realize that everybody else is going through their own experience. And those experiences are constantly changing because everybody's constantly bombarded by different stimuli. And we're all the same, but we're all learning, and some of us learn differently. So it takes a lot of different approaches. And that's the beauty of it, is there's so many different ways. There's so many ways to understanding. There's so many ways to new ideas and to new discoveries. But it don't come from perceiving the world in small boxes of the same thing. The world's not black and white. It's a massive spectrum of colours, shades, tones, this, that, and everything else. There's so much more to life than a lot of us are led to believe because we're caught up in the hustle and bustle of life. But where you put your attention tends to be what shapes your life. How many people are out there that have hobbies that encompass their life, that go mountain climbing every weekend they get, that go skydiving, that go this, that go that. And then people on the complete other end of the spectrum that sit indoors and watch soaps and binge watch series or read books or play football on the weekend with their mates or go to the pub. Like, everybody chooses to spend their time differently. Everybody chooses to have different experiences. these different experiences shape their ideas of the world. So everybody sees a different world. You don't see the world that I see, and I will never see the world that you see. But that doesn't mean we can't get along. That doesn't mean there isn't beauty in the world. It just means that it's a different beauty to all of us. And beauty will be defined differently to all of us. So stop trying to squeeze everybody into the same box. The world is full of differences. Differences in life, differences in personality, differences all across the spectrum, all throughout nature, all throughout biology, science, life, no matter what aspect of life you want to look at. It wouldn't have got to where it was if everything was identical copies. That's the beauty of life, is there's difference. Everything changes, everything unfolds differently. There's loads of potential out there. And life is curious. It wants to find out what is out there. So it will play out every scenario. And I do think that life has played out every scenario, and it will play out every scenario. Everything that has and will happen has happened. Because life's too curious for it not to happen. So don't let things stand in your way. Let it happen. Don't stand in your own way. Understand that your perception of the world can constantly change. It's just down to you to seek that change. You can sit in that box and convince yourself the world is as you've always known it to be, or you can tell yourself there's more out there in the world for you to learn and for you to see. Then all of that will change your perception of the world as a whole. How many people haven't left the city they was born in? They haven't seen the size of the world, or the variance in people that you could meet all throughout life. All of these add new stimuli, new variables to life. And all those new variables add deeper understanding. They build character. They build you. They build your perception, your perspective, your ideas. So, yeah, that's quite a ramble. A rant. I'm going to wrap this one up and get into the rant because it's getting late and it's been a long day for me. But you won't be able to perceive that because that's the beauty of life. This is my life and you're leading yours. The rant is going to be cookies. It's sending me round in circles at the minute. Like, I don't want cookies. I'm tired of rejecting cookies. Yes, I could probably get an ad blocker or VPNs or whatever else, but I don't want to get more things to be bothered by less things. Like, when I was looking for the good news stories and I'm jumping up on this website, that website, trying to find some good news, the amount of cookies on every single website, and it just, yeah. I'm really tired of that. Like, in many ways, I'm an old soul and I want a simpler time. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for the internet. But it's been over bombarded with ads and cookies and this, that and everything else. Too much stimuli. But I've probably said stimuli about 1,000 times this episode, but hey, somebody do a count for me. There's too many cookies. It's too much nonsense. Just chill out with it. You don't need to, I don't want you to make my experience better and remember all this information or whatever else. I search something, I want to know an answer to a question, answer it, and I'll leave your page, go like that. That's it. I'm really tired of dealing with cookies. And it's a very light-hearted rant for today again, but I ain't got much energy. I'm ready for bed. The seed for this episode is try step outside of yourself. Try see life from somebody else's perspective. Somebody older, somebody younger, somebody that started at a different time than you. And try to think that how your experience is different, how a day to them in comparison to their life is different to yours. It could be short or it could be longer, so that people's idea of time is always going to change. If you're older, then a day ain't gonna seem so long. But if you're younger, a day could seem like forever, because to you it's a lot more of your life at that time. And that's something that I think about a lot, having a little one, because a day to her, she's 3, that's a big percentage of her life. A week to her, that's a massive percentage. But to me, a week's a week. We'll plan a work week or whatever else. Most of us work by months or whatever else. So our scale of time, especially compared to our children, is very different. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle to relate to their kids in terms of how much time they have and how school can feel like it's the whole world to them, and that the parent can never relate. But to the kid it is. Like, to the kid, they're only young, and school to them is a big proportion of their life at that time. And it is for a long time. But by the time you're a parent, you're usually disassociated from that. You're a lot older and you don't realise that it feels like a long time when you're in school. Even trying to think back to it now, it feels like a long time ago to me. But I remember days that I felt were never going to end. But here I am years later, those days clearly ended. So yeah, just try to step outside of yourself and see what insights it brings. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.